like it. And also on our 008 car, we had some instructions on trimming back the knuckle piece and actually the fresh cut connection as well. So the originals were recommended to cut off about 0.25 of an inch from the bottom here and 0.25 inch from the bottom here. So they are both trimmed back. And we noticed that once they're trimmed, they do clear the car, but unfortunately they were really close, literally rubbing against the car itself, as you could probably tell from some of the marks. So now there is a gap. How we got that is actually by installing washers back here, as you can tell, behind the steering rack mounts. So that provided just about probably 1 millimeter or 2 of gap to give us that clearance. So far the eyeball test is looking great, but I think until we actually move the car, roll it around, drive it, put the steering wheel on it, then we'll be able to see if it really works better. For now, it passes the visual test. That is it. What I recommend, measure twice, cut once, because there's some cutting involved. Wear protective gear, and be careful when walking and working with carbon fiber in some places, as we're using some of the primary gauge cluster back then, because they do make you bleed. This was fairly easy. This steering knuckle here had just barely like maybe 2 millimeters of thread on there to put that nut on. I don't know how well it'll hold. As you can see from some of the marks, I tried to twist and turn this locking nut, but I think that's literally a dead locking nut that's going to be staying on there forever. So that's something to think about. I recommend getting some more clearance and meat to provide threading to establish good connections in case it does have a loss, because having high speed one wheel turning out would be disastrous highly. Or we could swap out one of the steering knuckles, but we'll see. Otherwise, it's pretty decent for now.
Did you mention about not putting mini washers, not to put stress on you?
Oh right, thank you, Mod. We went with 3 washers for the gap just because we didn't want to extend too far out and put too much pressure on those 4 contact points on the steering rack. The steering rack is already fairly heavy of a piece of equipment, and then of course there's the lateral force side to side